just got off the practice field, got a little football weather, and big boys are loving it. And it's kind of hard to get off of it. You just want to stay out there. So apologize for being a couple minutes late. Try to give you a little insight to the offensive line room. Thus far, we're hit the midway mark in the regular season schedule, and they're seeing some things that we like. We like the energy of the room and really good focus and work habits, daily work habits are really nice to see right now. We're seeing some improvement right now, but that's just exciting to see more. It's a bit of a scratching the surface that makes you want to see more. And moving forward here in the second half of the season, I think our main focus has to be keeping our eyes straight ahead on that daily improvement and not getting caught up in anything outside of our room, and really staying focused that way, and kind of protecting our focus that way, because that's how we're starting to see some improvement in that manner. So with that being said, I'll field any questions you got.
All right, Coach. First question will be from Tom Caker.
Coach, how you doing?
What's up, Tom?
Wanted to ask you, you've had a lot of moving parts, injuries, different things. How challenging has that been to get the cohesion that you need as an offensive line?
Great question. Less moving parts than we've ever had since I've been here. So you see moving parts, I see like concrete pillars, man. I see stability. It's exciting. We've had less movement. The last 2 or 3 weeks, we've had some situations where, say, this guy may not go, got to move a couple guys, but we've seen way less. We've seen more consistency from the offensive line room that way, that availability. I think it's our turn to be consistent and stable for maybe another room that might have some moving parts. Maybe it's our turn to give back a little bit. Where the last 2 years, it was every week it was moving parts, and we were relying on other rooms to help us big time. And so, yeah, while there is a move here or there, we're trying to keep it as consistent and stable as possible, keep guys on the same side and that kind of deal.
All right, Coach. Next question is from John Steppe.
Hey, George. Great to see you.
Hey, John.
With Tyler Ellsbury, I think I saw him as the second team guy at left tackle. So obviously you hope that Mason Richmond stays healthy, but if he doesn't, what could Tyler provide potentially at that tackle spot?
I think Tyler can play right now. And we thought that last week. That's why we moved him out. We have, Mason last Tuesday. Mason's basically out for the week. That's what we're thinking. Friday night, he's not playing. All right, what's plan B? And we knew early in the week it was going to be Ellsbury kicking out. The thinking behind that is this: we have a couple other tackles that are getting better. Are they able or ready to take on that workload right now? Probably not. So that's one where you rely on seniority, experience, that kind of deal. And that's why we moved Tyler out. And he's repped all 3 positions since he's been here. So we always kind of keep him fresh. He's pretty darn valuable.
All right, Coach. Next question is from David Eichholt.
Hey, George, appreciate you taking the time. Always good talking to you. I think before the season, you talked about how you can't microwave experience on the offensive line. Has that really been the key to help, propelling the room forward? It seems like you guys are having some more hits, especially in the run game. Just kind of what's your assessment right now of that?
Yeah, to me, that's everything. And I know that's not a great answer. It's not a popular answer. Start talking about appliances. But at the end of the day, if you don't have that patience with a young group and see it for what it is, you're gonna miss out, and there's gonna be more gaps, and we can't afford to have more gaps. 2 years ago, when we walked into the room, you knew you had to push the right buttons, and it was going to take a while, and it was going to be hard, arduous work, but great work because they're good young kids, and that's kind of how we've been operating for quite a while, and it hasn't changed. I think the worst thing you can do is say, okay, now we got these guys have all played in games and things like that, and then change the course. The course is the same. The course is patience. It's everyday work. It's consistency. And that's hard for a kid today with the phone and all those things. That's when I talk about protecting our focus. That's what we have to do a great job of that. Because these kids are 18, 19, 20 years old, and we're adults telling them to, hey, stay focused. Don't listen to anything else but what we're doing in the room. That's that's easier said than done. And that's why I have a ton of admiration for this room and this group of guys. I have a deep respect for not only what they've been through and what they're fighting through and are continuing to work through, and it's going to serve them well.
All right, Coach, next question is from Elliot Clough.
Can't hear you, Elliot. Sorry, bud.
Sorry about that. I was focused on the question. Good morning, George. I don't think we've met, so nice to meet you.
Awesome.
You mentioned in your opening statement that you're seeing improvement. Is there any particular place or facet of your group that you're really seeing improvement, maybe the most, or where are you seeing it generally?
Yeah, that's a fair question. I think overall, I think it starts outside of the room or outside of the field. I think it starts on how guys carry themselves, being consistent every day, entering the building with an energy, being available more, studying more, just being more invested. And I think that's where it starts. And then the chemistry in the room, that's probably the biggest jump we've made. But that happens naturally as long as you keep things tight and keep them focused. And then on the field, now you're talking, in the run fundamentals, our pad level's getting better. Our first steps are getting better. We're using our eyes better. A lot of mistakes that you see, a lot of times comes down to the eyes, and it's simple. You want to coach everything else. You want to coach the feet, the pads, all that stuff, and the elbows. But sometimes you forget the most important part, that your eyes lead the block. And with young guys, they're trying to pick up all the base fundamentals. Then they start adding the eyes later, and then it starts picking up. So, we're seeing a lot of we're better targeted on our blocks in the run game. And I think in the pass game, we're using our hands more, getting a little bit more separation. We've got a ton of work to do. I mean, we're not close to where we want to be in November. But yeah, those are probably the two biggest areas I've seen.
All right, next question is from Chad Leistico.
Hey, good morning, George.
Hey, Chad.
The last two matchups against Wisconsin have not produced a ton of yards. I think barely 300 in the last two total. But you said the line is improving. So what opportunities maybe do you see this week for, especially with an inexperienced quarterback? What can the line do to kind of help you guys win this matchup?
I think we got to do what we've attempted to do the last 3 or 4, 5, 6 games is make sure we're assignment correct, make sure that we're working together, communication. We see different fronts, something comes up, that we're on the same page as the quarterback, that we're following his lead with his calls and things like that. But as far as stats are concerned, I don't get too caught up in the numbers, because numbers usually involve more than one group. So for me to, as an offensive line coach, get enamored with hey, we want to get this certain number of this and this, I think that is a real gray way to approach it. I know it's fantasy football, but it's if I'm talking to my guys, we got to do our fundamentals correct, do our assignments correct, and be accountable for what we have to do. We got to mow our freaking lawn. You know what I mean? We can't be looking over in the neighbor's yard. We got to take care of our business and do that better. We got to do our part better, because we have a ton of improvement to make.
All right, next question is from Scott Docterman.
Along those lines, George, I looked at week 1, and there were a lot of makeable blocks that you guys missed, especially on counters, that probably made you want to pull the rest of your hair out if you had any left by the end of the day. But then you compare that to the other day, and on Caleb Johnson, I was really fascinated with this play, Caleb Johnson's long run, but the communication part that you discussed earlier, which was Connor Colby noticing that the nose moved over, which allowed him to kind of take one side. And then, of course, Logan Jones kind of pushed him all the way to the edge of the line of scrimmage. Rusty Feth got really vertical and blew a linebacker about 10 yards out.
Hey, can I record this? Can I record this and play it for my guys? That's what they need to hear.
It's recorded, but but looking the way everything lined up on that play, it just seemed like, okay, they got it on this play. Is that what you're trying to get to them to do it consistently? Because Lord knows Wisconsin and every other team is going to blow you up sometimes. But
sure. Yeah, no doubt.
When it does hit, it's a home run.
Yeah, it's what you want is consistency. What you want is, if you look at last week's game and a few of the games we've had this year, there's been that type of consistent footwork and working together, being on the same page. understanding what how the defense is moving and how we can take advantage of that at the end of the play. And like you were talking about with the center and the guard but yeah, we just have to continue to do that. Are we looking for home runs? Not really. I mean, that's not the world we want. We don't want to live in a hot or cold world. We know there's going to be, an extra guy, a blitz or something like that can affect a play, move on, get to the next snap, and see how consistent we can be. And that's communication. That's being targeted. That's getting the point right from the start, from the quarterback to us, and everyone being on the same page. And I think, and then you strap on the eye part of that. I think that really directly connects with what you just talked about, is seeing that as opposed to, great effort in a block but not seeing the big picture.
Next question is from Tyler Cashman.
Hey, Tyler.
You had mentioned that you guys are not close to where you want to be in November. How much growth do you feel like is possible at this point in the season, and how do you get there?
I think that's the most exciting part of coaching the offensive line. You're never where you want to be, and you always see growth possibilities, especially if you have the right energy and attitude, and availability is key there. And we have those things going for us right now. So yeah, I think there's a lot of improvement to be made. But I think it's going to be small incremental movement, improvement. And I think that's how you have to handle it. And we just have to understand if we see that there's been improvement so far, don't go off that course. Don't become something. Remember how you got to this point, and just put that one day at a time forward. And it matches our program. That's what I've always said here. 2 years ago when we talked about all the work that needed to be done, and a year ago all the work that needed to be done, I've always said the first thing that pops in my head is, we're at Iowa. You're at the place where that can get done, and you can have, and I don't mean patience in a negative tone, you can have patience and do it right and build the layers right, and just follow that process. You never want to be playing at your optimum and then falter down as October and November hit. You always want to be raising your play. And if you look at our line play the last 2 years, that's probably one thing that we did a fairly good job of, is improving as the season went. I think we're more equipped to do that even more now, because we have more availability, more people playing, and a little bit more experience.
John Steppe.
How have you seen Rusty Feth make the transition from the smaller but still FBS level to now
Easy
Big
now,
Ten?
easy on the Mac.
Yeah. But when you have a guy who's had 30 some career starts, how much of a luxury is that when you have a few injuries?
Huge. Rusty Feth helped change our room the day he decided to come. The big mistake he made is he went back, right? And he wasn't here, so he scared the hell out of everybody. And everybody got there. Everybody was like, "Hey, we got to get to work here. We just saw this dude. This guy's played a lot of football, And so he helped the room just at that second, because everyone upped their investment, in my opinion. And I'm not putting it all on Rusty, but like, that helps when you have that seniority and things like that. And then he comes in the room, and then the way he carries himself. I knew him when he was a sophomore in high school, but he's grown up a little bit extra facial hair. But he just the way he carries himself and acts in the room, that's huge. When you have tough days, tough plays, he's real steady. So that part of it is huge. And then you take his individual improvement. He's really starting to come into his own a little bit. You can see the thinking in detail get a little bit less and a little bit more rhythm and just feeling. And while he's playing, you're starting to see a little bit of his attitude when he plays. And I think that's what was missing a little bit early, and rightfully so, because he was still trying to get everything lined out and routine and campus and new. But now he's starting to hit his stride a little bit, and I'm just glad he's here.
Tom Kicker.
Wanted to ask you about some of the freshmen. I saw Cade out there working a little bit second team pregame. What about him? Jones, Lauk, some of those guys, and how they've developed so far this year.
All up. I like him, man. From day one, yeah, I know him because I recruited him, but I just like the way they carry themselves. These guys love football. They like to hit. They like to compete. Multi-sport guys, defensive players. I like that defensive mentality. Coming over to offense, like Cade Peeper. This kid. Oh, is he big enough? I don't know. He'll be okay. This kid likes to compete. But that's that whole group. There's a lot of people come to me talking about them. Like, hey, that scout group is the best we've ever had, and they're really playing hard. And of course, I go in there and rip them up a little bit so they don't get fat and happy on us. But watching because I watch their film every night, and I really enjoy their because they're improving. They're doing a good job. And how do you not? Blocking that D line every day. So, but yeah, their attitudes, they're just how they go to about they're blue collar, man. They like to work, like to roll up their sleeves. They don't mind contact. And yeah, it's a fun group.
Elliot.
So with the quarterback change, Deacon Hill coming in, obviously Cade was hampered a little bit with that injury he suffered during camp. Do you look at that positively and try to think of it? Oh, well, our quarterback's a little bit more mobile. That makes things a little bit easier on us. What are the positives, negatives that you're really dealing with right now? Whether it's communication, the fact that he's mobile, etc.
Yeah, I'm mowing our own lawn. I really don't. It doesn't even register to me, to be honest with you. It's just if we just worry about our own room. And we got plenty to worry about and plenty to stay focused on. And we just keep doing that daily. And each room does that. I think we'll like the results. I think if now we can block a certain way on this. That's out of my jurisdiction. That's a coordinator's job to figure out all that matching. My job is to get my offensive line ready to play for the coordinator, and that's it. So I'm sorry, but that's just how I got some blinders now.
All right, 3 more questions, Coach. First one is from Chad Leistico.
How would you assess your right tackle play so far with Jennings and, through 6 games? I know, this is really the first time he's played right tackle for the Hawkeyes. And also, like, the guy we get the most questions about is Dajon Parker. And we have no idea how he's developing behind the scenes. So if you could speak to that as well, that'd be great.
I'll talk about Dajon first. Dajon's been on a bumpy road, and you wouldn't know it. You wouldn't know it talking to him. You wouldn't know it watching him practice. He came in early, got injured in the first week of conditioning, was out for quite a while, got going for spring ball, first day of spring ball, had an injury again, out for a while, surgical, missed part of summer. So it's all the development, because we knew when Dajon came in, he was going to need some of that development, especially with the lower body. His lower body was a little bit behind his upper. So we knew every day was going to count. And then all of a sudden we got all those days taken away. And most importantly, he got those days taken away. Never flinched, everyday guy. And now he's kind of back on that upward trend, and he's working hard, and he's showing up every day. He's playing from behind a little bit right now, but he's another guy that him sitting in that room and him giving advice to kids that are 4 years younger than him, invaluable. My only wish for him is he didn't miss all that time, so he could taste kind of what Rusty's tasting right now, because he's plenty good enough. So we'll see how it goes. There's quite a bit of season left here, and we're just going to keep working day by day with him. As far as Jennings is concerned at the right tackle, not to be Mr. Positive, but I think for a first-year tackle who thinks a lot and is way smarter than I am, I think he's doing a damn good job. I think he's really starting to feel the game a little bit. He still has his moments where you can tell he's a little bit methodical, probably not dissimilar to Logan Jones last year at center. I think there's a little bit of similarity to that at times. And I think if you tried to judge him too early, I think that would be a shame. I think we're seeing that with Logan right now. But yeah, he's also doing some things probably better than I thought he was going to do. He's got good athleticism. He can move his feet, and he likes contact. He likes the physical part of the game. He's starting to have a better pre-snap plan. Those are the things when that pre-snap plan starts to become natural, as opposed to thinking through it every time. And I think it's becoming more natural every day. I think we're going to see him just continue to flourish and raise his play. But I've been happy with Jennings.
Scott Docterman.
Wanted to ask about Connor Colby, and last year trying to put his shim out to right tackle just didn't work out well for him. But it seems like he's really hitting his stride at guard, especially when he's running counter. He can really displace people when he's pulling. What has led him to this point? Is it just purely maturity and growing and doing the same thing repetition wise over and over again, or has he taken that jump? And if so, what has kind of propelled him to be this kind of upper echelon player? I think.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with him when you look at Connor's story and his time here, you never want to go back and change anyone's past because it leads to the future. But the fact that he played so early, I mean, the kid was a high school senior, and he came on campus and he's starting for the Hawks. Like that's not, and he's probably not good enough to be doing it. It's a tough one. And I admire everything he did that year and how he handled himself. And that's why, he was raised the right way. He's a special kid, like just a really cool kid. But then you think, do you have it figured out as a young kid like that? Or did you kind of survive it a little bit, and then he's getting pumped up a little bit outside. Then he comes in the second year, and then because of injuries, we got to move positions. And that was a tough year for him in multiple accounts. I think if he had stayed at guard, it might have been a tough year because of that slack where he wasn't quite sure how good he was, as opposed to being down on the scout team with Coach Parker and Coach Wallace and Coach Bell. And you kind of know where you're at, and you just work through it. So I think, I don't want to call it a trap, but he had that little second year lull where he had to kind of figure out, hey, this is reality. This is where I'm at. This is what I got to do. I don't have it all figured out. And, you guys know Connor. He's such a good kid, and that he knew that. He figured it out. It just took a little bit. That's what I think the difference is now. He's comfortable. He knows exactly where he stands. He's not wondering. He's not wondering if he's good enough or not. He's just playing, and the consistency in position. That's something that you guys are sharp. You guys have always asked about, hey, you're moving guys around, and, we just couldn't tell you about all the necessity that we had at that time to do it just to survive. We don't have that problem as much right now. So just him being able to, hey, here's where you're going to be. Here's where you're going to play. And this is where you're going to rep the hell out of it and get better. And that's what you want. And by no surprise, here he comes. He's getting better and competing his butt off. And I think he's really enjoying football. And, but yeah, I can talk about him for a long time. Yeah.
All right, last questions, Coach, from John Steppe.
Yep.
I realize you can't comment on specific guys for a few more months, but in general, what has made the Chicago suburb area really appealing ground for recruiting offensive linemen?
I just like good players. I like good players. I don't care where they're from. I like good players that are tough, that have a work ethic. I have familiarity with certain areas because I've been doing it for a long time. And, that always helps if I know some people that are connected. I think that's big with me. I want to know exactly what I'm getting, and I want to know how they were raised in the game of football. And because there's going to be tough days, and how kids respond. And, it's all the things that when we walked in here that we wanted to get done in that room and get the room back. And we're in the middle of that process right now. We're not close to where we want to go. We're in the middle of it, but it's going to be done with people, I guess is what I'm saying. And to match your question, it's done with people, and the right type of people, and the people that believe in the same things. It's not about chasing stars. It's not about chasing paper talent, or they did a whatever at a combine, whatever. Like, I want to know who fits the program. I want to know who fits Iowa's offensive line and how we want to play. And if we just keep doing that, like we talked about the freshman class, if you go through to a man, it wasn't like we were surprised. I'm not surprised that they're doing what they're doing, because I knew exactly how they were brought up in the game and brought up at home, and their work ethic, and, just the type of guy they are. So as far as like certain areas, yeah, there's, but a lot of it's, if I have familiarity with people, or if I know the coach, or if I know that helps.
All right, perfect. Thank